A new video, a new Korean gel polish to swatch. Today I've got the Valla Maroon Burgundy Syrup Gel Collection. It's red, burgundy, wine colors. They released this for Valentine's Day. Lovely bottles and colors. And again, their packaging is on point. It's really nice and heavy and thick. Makes you feel like your products are going to be safe. We've got our color card here for our swatches. Very nice. And we have got this beautiful selection of reds, pinks, nudes, burgundy, maroon colors. This should be fun, so let's swatch it up. So this is a red shade collection, starting out really, really light and getting darker and darker as you go. One thing I've finally noticed after swatching quite a few now of the Valla brand is that your product color identifiers, this one here being VS syrup for a syrup collection, they have VM for the magnet and VG for the glitter, which is what I've come across so far. So this particular collection is numbers VS 60 through 67. Here's VS 60, super, super nude pink. This is my first with one of their regular syrup gels. So far I've checked out a glitter collection and a magnet collection, both which were quite lovely. And these are a 10 ml bottle, and I love the fact that the packaging of the bottle is identical to the actual color inside. To me, that's always a bonus. I don't mind paying extra for that. Makes it really easy to pick out the colors when I need to. As always, I go in with 2 coats for my swatches. And I am still struggling a little bit with Korean gel syrup formulas, simply because I'm very heavy-handed when I polish, which, you know, isn't a big deal when you're using creams, unless it's a black or a white or something that doesn't cure as well. But, you know, typically you're going to get good coverage and it's not going to be that noticeable unless you're being like way overzealous with your product. But with Korean gels, with syrup gels, it's a little bit trickier because that syrup gel will create shadows and patches much easier than a cream usually, even with a really good self-leveling one. And you've got to be really conscious of your sidewalls and that, because if it pools even the slightest bit, you'll really notice it on there. But maybe not so much on the actual nail. I just really notice it on the swatches, that's for sure. VS 61. There, see, if you go in much lighter with your product, then you don't quite get as bad. But I am seeing, you know, a bit of streaking and stuff here. It's not too bad. It's starting to self-level. I'll give it a minute and see what it does. So it did level out quite a bit, but not completely to get rid of all of the streaks. We'll see what this next coat does for it. I don't know if my room, it's because my room's a little bit on the cooler side, that these might be a little thicker than they are typically, because I am getting that they're not self-leveling quite as well as I would like. It's not a super consistent coat. I don't know if that helps you to see it any better. You can really tell at the top section, but that's pretty typical just because of that big bump there. But even in the center, like it just, yeah, there's a little less consistency than I would typically like to see. But again, that's also user trying to get used to dealing with a syrup formula, which I'm not perfectly ideal at yet. VS 62. Here we have VS63. I was pretty eager for this collection because I do have limited reds and maroons and such. Quite a few burgundies that are like purple toned, but not so much on the reds and maroons. So I really needed something to kind of flesh out my colors in that area. When I originally started out as a tech, of course I got tons and tons of reds, because that being a very common color, reds and pinks. So because I had so many of those colors starting out, I kind of veered away from them in my later collections, and now find myself pretty low when it comes to reds and maroons. Sorry, I'm just not loving the application of this. I'm really struggling to get consistent coverage. Yeah, I feel like this one was especially tough. Like, look at, it's so much heavier in some areas than others. As a beginner, I would be so frustrated with this. Again, it could be because of the temperature, but it's not freezing in here by any stretch. It's just on the cooler side. And it's really giving me a workout, so there we go, a little better. So I've sent my other colors to go warm up for a few minutes to see if that helps any. Just to make sure that it's not a temperature issue that's making them a little tougher to work with. VS64. This is one I'm excited for. It's a very burgundy. Yeah, this is a beautiful color. Are you a big fan of Valentine's nails? Do you like to keep them super simple with, you know, a Valentine's-y color? Or do you prefer going all out with the bling? Because Valentine's can be a very blingy time of year for sure. I used to be all about the bling, and not excessively, but just doing all kinds of different techniques and everything different on all the nails, and I'm starting to go a little bit simpler these days. I still like doing a lot of different techniques. I'm just preferring to kind of keep all the nails similar when I'm doing a full set. Here's VS65. This is a wicked red. Really cool. Now this color has been warmed up for quite a bit here, and it does seem to be applying a little better, but it's still not completely ideal for me, just for my liking. This one's layering up really dark. It's much more opaque than the others. And I made sure to try and make sure it wasn't me layering too much product on. VS66. Upon further reflection, I'm actually starting to think it might possibly just be a me issue. Because I seem to recall feeling like none of the syrup gels that I've swatched have a consistency in their coverage. And it is probably because I'm expecting the syrup gel to behave in a way that it's just not going to. So I'm so used to using creams that I have for years, like a decade, more than a decade, and used to a consistency that, you know, it layers up. You don't have any bald spots. You know when you've got your proper coverage because you have no bald spots. And it self-levels, you know, if you've got a good one, it self-levels beautifully, and voila. But syrup gels just don't behave in the same way because it's so translucent that you're just not going to get the same coverage unless you went over layer, 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 you know, and 3, 4, 6 layers later, yes, you're going to have a consistent coverage. But until then, you're going to continue having kind of bald, patchy spots because that's kind of what syrups do, I think. So while working with a cream that would take more than 2 coats to get consistent coverage would be extremely frustrating and not the best product. When you're talking about a Korean syrup gel, you're not expecting to get full coverage in 2 coats, because that's really not the idea of them. They're more nuanced and subtle, and the translucent quality gives them a more natural effect. I think with all of that, you just come to expect that you are going to have areas that aren't going to be completely consistent. And that's just part of the syrup gel experience, I think. It's just kind of a hard switch over for somebody like me who is so used to creams and going, oh, I don't have perfect, completely consistent coverage in 2 coats. So then it's not the ideal polish. But that's not the case with syrups. That'd be asking it to act like a cream polish when it is not. Our last color here is V67. This is so dark, it's almost feeling like a brown. Yeah, this is very brown with a red tone. Well, not very brown. This is quite brown with a red tone. Interesting color though, that's for sure. It's the new year now, and I have accumulated so many new Korean gels that I have to reorganize my nail studio completely to try and fit them all in somewhere into my collection. I've had to significantly slow down due to, of course, cost and space and time. But my neurospicy brain just cannot hold out from getting new colors to play with every opportunity I get, because they're all different. They're all different. There's so many colors and styles, and everything's different. Everything's fun. You gotta try it all. I gotta try it all. Here they all are, top coated. Got, of course, matte at the base and glossy to the tip. This is quite a lovely collection of colors. I really like the idea of having a series of colors. Like, I would love to pick this up as well in a blue that maybe has some greens to it, like turquoisey greens, and a yellow that has oranges and that to it. So, and that would round out a really nice syrup collection with your primary colors, but with some variety, right? I don't know, what do you think? This is the first like straight color collection I've ever picked up from any of the brands. And I could certainly see this being very useful during the Valentine's season. These 2 colors here are by far my favorite. This is such a neat burgundy color, and this is such a cool red. So if I were to have to pick up colors individually, these are definitely the 2 that I'd go for. The pink scale, I mean, they're really nice colors, but I do feel like I think I probably have a lot that are very, very similar already. This darker one, that's okay. I could see using that. This one might be a little trickier for me to use. It very much leans to a brown tone, or like a dark, not plum tone, but very like chocolatey red. So there we are. That was the Valla Maroon Burgundy collection. And if you think you'd like to pick this one up, you can find it in the description box below at Sweetie Nail Supply. Make sure, if you want to save some money, use my code LYN for 10% off. I came up with a really sweet Valentine's nail idea using the Valla Burgundy collection and Blanc Sangria Chrome. It's pretty simple, although it will take you some time. I am first of all just going to go in with 2 coats of the Valla VS64 syrup gel from the Maroon Burgundy collection. And we're just going to do 2 thin coats of this and cure. Then I'm going to go in with alcohol, wipe off any sticky inhibition layer. And we're ready to stamp. So I've got my stamping polish. Then I'm going to go in with this rose stamp. As most of you may already know, I cannot hand draw to save my life, or hand paint. So stamping, stickers, decals, that's where it's at for me. That's pretty good. So I'm just cleaning up the stuff on the edges that I don't want. All right, so I'll give that a second to dry before I go in with my Dvok Zero Matte Top Coat. So essentially what I've done with this is just given myself a tracing guide because I'm no good at doing this myself. I would not have been able to hand paint this very well. So making sure to float my top coat so I don't smear any of my stamping. And if you're doing this on a client, you might want to even go in with a base to lock that stamping in, just so you don't have any chipping or lifting on it. You can see I just started to smear it a little bit. I used a little too much pressure there. And it just barely smeared the edge. Now that my matte top coat is cured, should be good for chrome isolation. So I go in with my YOGO Zombie Top Gel, which in my testing turned out to be the best no wipe top coat that I have for chrome. And it is very thick. So this actually works really well for doing an isolated design like this. So it's not going to spread everywhere as I'm doing it. Then you just have to take the time to go in and fill in your design. Actually, I'm going to pause and time this and see how long it takes me. I tend to be incredibly slow at these sorts of things. I'm trying to work on that. And I figured out the reason I am so slow is because I don't have confidence, like in what I'm doing. So instead of going in with bold, confident strokes, I'm always just like tappy, 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 and taking 10 times longer. Now you do want to try and be as absolutely careful as humanly possible, just to keep your effect nice and tight. You can see here that I smudged over the line a bit. On the outside, I don't care so much. Like I did a tiny bit on that outside line. But on the inside of the flower, it's going to kind of like smear it together if you don't have it kind of nice and crisp as much as possible. And then of course I'm just a perfectionist and I can't stand to see it like that. Wow, do you see how shaky my hand is? I was holding my breath for that one. I do find that helps sometimes if I'm not talking and I'm holding my breath while I go. And this top coat is really thick, so you wouldn't really need to flash cure in between. But because I do get a little bit messy and shaky, I am going to do it just so that I have less to worry about. So I've had a quick flash cure and back in. For this first layer, I'm not worried about how thick I'm going over it. It's a nice, thin, controllable amount to highlight that blackened area. And then I am going to go in with a second layer after I chrome to build it up. There, I think we're all colored in. Really impressed. It only took me 12 minutes to highlight this. That's a lot better than I expected. If you know me, you know I'm super, super slow at stuff. All right, so then I've got my Blanc Sangria. This is W49 powder. I've just got it on a dampened paper towel because I find that a little easier to manage. The chrome fluffies powder stuff really gets on my nerves. I love using it, but I don't know, it really annoys me. So having this here helps to kind of gather up some of that sprinkles. All right, so we're gonna go in with the chrome. And we've matted, so it shouldn't stick to our base. It should only stick to our beautiful rose. Isolated chrome is so much fun. Chrome of any kind is so much fun. Oh my goodness. There's just so much you can do with it. And if you can hand paint, whoo, can you ever then? You're a little more limited when you're like me and you cannot hand paint to save your life. Like even simple hearts give me distress. They don't work the best for me. Look at that already. Just you wait to see what happens. And another quick little wipe to get another good stick-in layer on there. Out of all my top coats that I tested, I think I have 9 of different ones that I use regularly that are no wipe. This YOGO was the best for my Korean gels and all the rest. And then non-Korean gels, my Gaudy worked really well for chrome too. And microfiber cloth, and very gently go in and burnish that really nice. Remember, it doesn't have to be super perfect at this stage. We are going in with another coat. So it'll not only fill in any spots that didn't work, but it's also going to give us a layered, more 3D effect. So now I'm going back in for my second layer, and I'm just gonna work on building it up higher and getting any blackened edges that I might have missed. Like here, just around the edge a little bit, there was a bit of a black line still. So just concentrating on that anywhere you see the black, and then building up this layer with a bit of thickness. And here I'll be doing a little bit of flash curing just because I'm going heavier on it and I don't want any spreading, even though this one is really thick. But since it's chrome, over chrome, if it starts kind of sliding off, it's gonna make a mess. And so what I do, just to make it easier on me, is I go along outside edge, build kind of like a wall, and then you fill in the inside with a little bit higher. And if you need to make a choice, if you're cautious like me, it's better to be in behind the line than over it. Because again, you want that separation in between the petals for the best effect. So being inside instead of outside the line is a better option. So I've got a nice little portion there done at the top and the side. I'm going to flash cure that because I've layered it up and I don't want it to slowly start spreading around, which it could do just because I've gone a little bit higher. And then back in to finish the rest of it. After a quick flash cure. I was hoping this last layer would be a little quicker because the base is already there, but it's actually a little bit trickier because of the reflection from the chrome powder. For me anyways, it makes it a little harder to see what I'm doing. My eyes kind of play tricks on me with that dual chrome shift, which I didn't really realize this one had until I started doing this. When I did my sample for it, it didn't really seem to me that there was a dual shift. But now that I've used it for something, I'm totally seeing it, and it's awesome. It was already my favorite of the ones I got, but now even more so. There we go. Now that we've got our second layer cured, I'm going to go in again with some alcohol, wipe it down really good, try and get any of that chrome from last time that went places that it shouldn't have so that it's not in there anymore. And then we go in with our chrome again. You don't have to do this second layer, but to me it's going to really make it pop. And I always like to overwork and overdo things for some reason. It's just how my brain goes. If one layer is good, 2 layers is better. And really, you don't always have to do that extra work. Okay, I think we're good there. And then my microfiber cloth, I want to try and make sure I'm getting rid of any chrome that shouldn't be there. And burnishing in this chrome really well. See how it's just taking away all the excess sparkly chrome stuff on the edges? Because we want it isolated. We don't want any extras. So I've gotten rid of any chrome that's kind of sparkling all around or on the inside. It's all gone. And now I'm going to go over it with a base coat. That base coat is going to help seal in that chrome. And again, just making sure that you have a base coat that's not going to smear your chrome if you can. This is like a little bit 3-dimensional, just from us layering our top coat layers. Very gentle to float and trying not to mess with it too much because I do not want that chrome spreading around. Okay, I feel pretty good about that. Hold it up for a minute and make sure everything kind of slides around into place and cure. Now that the base layer is cured, we can go with our YOGO Zombie Top Gel. This is a nice thick top coat, so it's not that we need to encapsulate, but we do want to round this out a bit so it's not got that little bit of bumpiness in there. It doesn't really matter, but having a nice thick top coat to put that layer on is going to smooth it out. And voila! Look at how that turned out, guys. It has such a freaking cool 3D encapsulated effect because the chrome shifts in there. It looks so neat. I wish I could get that reflection off of it. What do you think? Is this doing it for you? I was just thinking this was the wildest thing. It looks so fucking cool. I did play around with stamping with a couple of other techniques, but the rose looked the best. So here is just with a relief stamp, which turned out really cool too. That's super just simple though. Paint your nail, chrome it, put your stamp on there, and you're done. As I was cleaning up, I got to thinking how amazing this would look as a set. So using this one, because it's so detailed and takes time, as just your, 2 ring finger accent nail kind of thing. And then going in with the rest of your nails with just this simple stamp design. And what an amazing set that would make. I know somebody who will have some super sweet Valentine's nails coming up. What do you guys think? Is this a match made in heaven? Kind of feeling it. So I hope you guys like that. Is it something you'd try? It's time consuming, sure, but really simple. As long as you have a stamp that you can pop on there. Or even if you had a sticker or decal, same idea. If it's black, put it on there and coat over it, and away you go. Don't have to have those awesome painting skills to design something like that. I really hope you enjoyed checking out this video. It always amazes me and I have so much gratitude for you watching. It's hard to even believe that you would want to sit here through my videos. So thanks again. And of course, until next time, don't forget to love your nails. Bye.